I'm gonna be the host for this segment. I'm CJ, and what's up, Chuck? How are you? I'm gonna introduce Chuck first because Chuck is the one who brought our other two guests. So, Chuck, can you introduce yourself and then the two other activists that we have here for this discussion?
Yeah, well, first, CJ, I really appreciate the invite and having a police brutality panel and all the great work that's going on the last couple of days. And when you talked about activists and having activists on a panel who are really, really in the trenches, when you're talking about Nene Taylor and you're talking about Kevin Kramer, who are here, these are individuals who've been in the street. I mean, I think I met Nene going back 10.
I do another show with Chuck, so give him about 10 seconds and he'll be right here in about 10 seconds here. It'll pop right back up. So it happens.
We're back.
There he goes. Yes. So
yeah.
Like I was telling them, we do another show. So I know it's about 15 seconds. He'll be gone and he'll pop right back. But go ahead, continue.
Right. Well, you know what? People don't know this, but back when, Mike Brown was killed, DC had the strongest solidarity, I would brag and argue, of any place in the nation. And Nene had a lot to do with that. And there was an incredible amount of support, and people from DC went to Ferguson at that time, many trips in buses from DC to Ferguson. And then over the years, there was a lull. There wasn't a lull in police brutality. There wasn't a lull in police killings, but there was a lull in protest. And then entered George Floyd. And what happens is there's an explosion. And there's an explosion in D.C. as well of protesters coming out. And you meet incredible individuals like Kevin Kramer who are here. And I think as I set it up to introduce them, what I really want to get across is that just because the uprising in George Floyd has subsided, the police killings have not stopped, and especially in D.C. as well. And protests have continued, and they'll be able to talk about that. The brutality has not stopped. The protests against the brutality and the killings has not stopped. Their arrest, Kevin was recently arrested, has not stopped. Their selective racist arrests have not stopped. Our jail support that goes on has not stopped either. The support that goes on in DC has not stopped. The mantra is "we keep us safe." You'll hear that at any protest. So really, we want to talk about the nation's capital, but not the nation's capital that everybody descends on anytime there's a protest, but actual living people in DC and what that looks like. So I couldn't be happier to have Nene and Kevin join us and give that texture to let people know DC is just more than the capital.
So thank you, Chuck, for that great introduction. Let's go to Nene first, and then we'll go to Kevin. So Nene, can you just talk about further go into more detail about the beautiful introduction that Chuck gave you? Talk more about yourself and just kind of the work you do, why you got into the work, and what's happening on the ground right now.
Yeah, so shout out, you're right. Chuck is a go-to guy because it's Black Joy Sunday, and I don't work on Sundays. That's my balance day. And I had to tell Chuck, I really mess with you for you to get me out here on a Sunday to do a panel on a Sunday.
Chuck called in a favor. Thank you, Chuck.
He's the go-to guy. I love Chuck. Chuck shows up for us in so many ways, and so my name is Nene Taylor. I'm a DC native, born and raised in the most marginalized part of Southeast Washington, DC. Actually, I didn't choose the movement. The movement chose me as a Black young girl raised in the projects in DC. And my parents did the civil rights, the civil rights thing, Murray. I was that little kid passing the flyers out back in the day. So the movement chose me, and I'm just stuck here. But I'm formerly a direct action coordinator for Black Lives Matter DC. But as Chuck said, it was a higher calling on my life, and I founded Harriet's Wildest Dreams, which is a Black-led abolitionist community defense hub, where we actually do the work of mutual aid, direct action, protesting, but legal empowerment and political education is a 3-pillar a 3-pillar organization, because reality is just fighting the police is not going to get us free. And so we literally do all 3 pillars as a community defense hub. We do legal empowerment, political education, and the rapid responses of the everyday work, the everyday needs of Black people here in DC. So that's who I am, and we outside, and the work don't stop. I was just outside yesterday, Friday, the whole week. I was actually no, Saturday I took the weekend off. I literally did some spiritual work because you have to find balance. So that's who I am. I'm outside, DC native, been doing the work since I was a kid, but the calling came just like you said when the Black Lives Matter global network started. I got involved and we created the Black Lives Matter DC. But now I have Harriet's Wildest Dreams.
Absolutely. Let's go to Kevin. Same sort of deal. Like, tell us who you are. Tell us, like, what brought you to this activism and what's happening on the ground.
Hi, thank you for having me. Like, before I speak, first and foremost, sorry for my voice. Being when you're on the ground, this is what it sounds like. Give honor to my African ancestry and my indigenous ancestry and the indigenous land that I'm standing on in Piscataway land in Arlington, Virginia. So my name is Kevin Kramer, and I am a full-time revolutionary, and I am the co-founder of the Palm Collective, where we fight for Black liberation intersectionally, and simply knowing that justice is literally in the palm of our hands. Active member of the participatory defense with Harriet's Wildest Dreams, and a member of Arm in Arm, fighting to end the climate crisis by centering it in racial and economic justice. Choosing to put my body on the front line is really, I think it came to thinking about paying the price of freedom. Like so many of us, like just simply being Black, like Nini was saying, when we wake up, when we move, when we exist, when we do, I didn't choose to be a revolutionary. Like, being a revolutionary was the only option.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you guys were going to say something else. I threw up both of your. Oh, he got stuck. So let's maybe give him a few seconds. He might come back. We'll give him a few seconds. I don't know how it does that. So it broke Kevin. I can't hear Kevin. Can you hear Kevin? Anybody? I can't hear Kevin.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you. Yeah. I think you might have to reset, and that just simply go out of the room and then come back into the room. You may have to reset your sound.
Yeah.
You
may have to go out.
So if you can hear us, can you put that in the chat, JB, for him to know what's going on, JB? Just let him know for his sound, he has to go out of the room and come back.
Yeah, leave the room and come back for sure.
Yeah. All right. So JB, the producer, he'll handle that. So let's go back to Nini, and can you talk, as I put up your website, I want you to talk more about what more. I know you gave the 3 pillars, but I want to kind of drill down into wait, who was arrested? Oh, Kevin was arrested. Oh, check. Kevin was arrested. Okay, so Kevin there goes Kevin. All right, so I think we can hear you, Kevin.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Okay, there we go.
I know where I left off, but I don't want to bombard over time. But I think
you were talking about your website. You were talking about, you had just finished describing what the Palm Collective was about, and then after that, we don't know what was said right after that.
I'm just going to go with, like, literally, just like many other people in that summer of 2020 went outside to answer the call. Was just concluding that choosing to be a revolutionary wasn't like an option. Merely existing in this skin was what concluded my decision. But going outside and being outside and staying outside and building community and learning about abolition and mutual aid and what it looks like to be in community, and not just with people from your area, but people from all walks of life and also in different states, and just really been truly digging into that, because building community is how we build people power, and people power leads us to liberation. But in that space, it wasn't until January 6th where I decided to do this full time. I went 6 months, leaving work, skipping work, lying. I was running an office of 35 people. I was a city coordinator. And on January 6th, white supremacy was at its all-time high, and the Capitol was sieged by Donald Trump and his supporters. In an office full of Black people who I'm giving orientation to, I had to decide right there. I was thinking to myself, like, I work for I'm out here working for Save the Children. I've saved over 1,000 lives working for them. And in that, this, even knowing that these kids are living in some of the most horrible conditions in the world, they got Fortune 500s fighting for them. And Black people have nobody. So I decided at work, I told my boss I was going to furlough myself, that if I was going to give my time, energy, and talent to anybody, it was going to be to liberation of Black people. And ever since then, being outside and being in spaces like this and making the connections and making the bonds and building community is been my life.
Absolutely. I want to bring Chuck back in. I didn't know if you, because I know we talked about the arrest. I didn't know if you had something. It looks like Chuck might be frozen himself. This is the free show, both of them. There he goes. I didn't know if you had something already set up before I go into my questions. It doesn't look like. So then this is where I wanted to start. I wanted to start with, because this is one of the questions I hear a lot when I'm reading through, like some of the fears people have, like, oh, I'm defund the police, police brutality. I want to fight against, but it's like, is activism in the space of police brutality, since you're fighting against police? Is that a fear that you had to overcome in your activism? Because a lot of people want to fight against a lot of what the police do, but they may be fearful. So I want to try to talk about that gap in hopes to maybe getting more people involved with activism against police and police brutality. So I can start with Nini and then go to Kevin for that question.
Yeah, for me, if you ever come to DC, I'm known as the modern day Harriet Tubman. So for me, I have no fear that, just as Kevin was just saying, I do this work and been led by the spirit of my ancestors who came before me to do the work. And I literally live my life as like Harriet Tubman, like the spirit of Harriet Tubman. That's the commitment. I'm a commitment to the spirit of Harriet Tubman. And that's my bold commitment. If you all know about bold, because I'm a member of bold, the organization bold. And my commitment in life is I'm a commitment to the spirit of Harriet Tubman. So with that being said, when I'm out there, people like, be like, wow, like, did she just do that? Did she just do that? And honestly, I don't even think I be present when I'm fighting for Black people liberation when it comes to police brutality. But I do know that white supremacy does oppress us. And this is why with Harriet's Dreams, we literally have the 3 pillars. We literally respond in a way to keep people safe. Where when we out there and we have to experience, or our people experience police brutality, we make sure that they have court support and legal representation. And as Kevin said, participatory defense, where we work with our people on their case to get the best outcome of that case. And right now we got a 98%, winning record, where we like,
Wow.
you mess with us, we winning. We winning with our attorneys and preparing our cases, because we have movement lawyers who help us move those cases and tell us what to tell the people who's arrested. They come and work on their cases, and then we get them free. We believe in getting our people free. So with that being said, a lot of people trust Harriet's Wildest Dreams to come out and do the work with us, because we really do keep our people safe.
When you say the spirit of Harriet Tubman, you feel like that's where you're getting this. It may be a little figurative, but the question I have is, when I'm seeing police brutality, I'm seeing what my ancestors, a little bit of what my ancestors, and I ask the question, I retweet when these videos come out, I'm like, ask yourself the question when you're watching this video, does it look like protection or does it resemble slave catching? Like, what
Yes,
does it resemble to you? Take
slave
away,
catching.
yeah, take away
Okay.
like all of the politics. Just
Yeah.
physically, what would you label this if you just saw this happening? You know what I mean? So could you speak to that? Go
Yeah,
ahead,
it's
Nina.
definitely
Yeah.
it's definitely slave catching. If you follow our page, when Kevin got arrested on Friday, I literally went there and said, "You all kidnapped Kevin Kramer and you have him enslaved, and I'm here to get him." And I was at the police station by myself, coming to set the captive free. And they was like, "You have to leave the police station," because I told everybody to come to the police station, and they closed it. And I said, "I'm not leaving out the police station. I come to retrieve my loved one. You enslaving him right now." And I meant that from the bottom of my heart. And I speak in that language of kidnap and enslave anytime it's a police brutality case. It just happened again on what, Friday,
Yeah.
and right again. I'm
Yeah.
Thursday night in DC, and I'm right back in the courts. Like, hey, you are going to stop enslaving our people, because it's exactly what it is. It's the enslaved patrol. They were made to do just what they're doing, and nothing has changed. It's just a different name, but they still do the work that they did of the masters. And we have the same people, the coon people, that's doing what the masters say do. And back then, the coon people did the same thing. So nothing changed but the name. That's how I view police brutality. And I literally speak to them in those terms. I don't say the police and nothing. I say the
Wow.
enslaved patrol. I call them the enslaved
Yes.
patrol.
And I love that energy, and that's what Rome was saying about the in another segment. Like, you have to start using the right language to describe them. Police is a too nice of a word for what's happening. So
because
Kevin,
they don't
can
police
you?
any neighborhoods, man. And if you look how deep slave patrol goes, think it can go to, you know what I'm saying, it can talk to a lot of the working class, because what are you? You know what I'm saying? Do you get enough? Do you feel like you get enough breaks? Do you feel like your breaks are long enough? Do you get enough vacations? Do you let you get holiday? You know what I'm saying? When you get pregnant, what happens? Do they rush you back on the line? Are you a slave or are you free? You know, in many ways. And what happens when you rushing to get to your, you know what I'm saying, to get back on a fucking plantation? The slave patrol pull your ass over. Oh, here go a motherfucking ticket. If they feeling like it, they might bust you up your motherfucking head.
I mean, that's
Yes.
literally what slave catching. Like, they literally just went out and just, oh, I'm just gonna fuck with them, and that's it. Like, I'm gonna take their shit. They call it civil asset forfeiture now. It's just a nice name for it. But let's bring in Kevin, because Kevin has had an ordeal with the police. So I want you to kind of talk about it in your own words. Like, what sort of happened? How did you feel when a community came and came together and supported you? Can you talk about that experience?
Yes. And first of all, I want to premise that by saying there is no good cops in a racist system. Like, they're all murderers. Like, every single last one of them, from ICE all the way down to the border patrol. Like, they all go hand in hand. Um, and that day, I went outside to protest against the World Bank, against IMF, and against the capitalistic and imperialistic practices that have been using extractive ways to weaponize Black and brown countries all throughout the global South, and or due reparations are in states of mass poverty and mass human betrayal, that they are not the beneficiaries of their own oppression. They haven't gotten there by their own state. So using my charisma and my voice and holding space and body with my comrades, we went outside to protest and hold the federal government and the world leaders, all 20 of them that were meeting here for their annual summit, accountable to the Black and brown and marginalized people of the global South. And in that, because of the work that I do, because of the work that me and Nini do and Chuck, that the police know you by name. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's not there. I walked up and it was like, hey, like, I got a hey, Kevin. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I say that not to endure the fact that people know me. It's just that when Nini gets up and she goes, because of her charisma, because how she shows up in her passion, people know you. And in that, when you're doing the work, when we're calling out the police in the courtroom, when we're calling out the police outside in the spaces where they are overseeing us, when we're calling out the slave catchers, then the target becomes on your back. because you are the one who you're using your charisma to inspire other people to believe in themselves, that they can fight for a better world. And so doing that work and being outside, I put a target on my back, which is something I signed up for, because when we do what we do, it comes with it. But I was targeted. I was thrown to the ground. I was beaten. I have swollen tendons, muscles, and soft tissue. And I was assaulted for my charisma and charm and for using my voice and my body. But I expect nothing less from the militia of the federal government of the United States of America. But yeah, that is what happened to me. And seeing these videos and how I'm choosing to express it is the capacity that I'm able to, because I literally thought I was going to die because someone sat on my head. And in that same space, I was in a space where I was not the majority. And when the objective were really, I got a chance earlier, I came here earlier and I was listening to the stuff that you were talking about. And we also asked the question on how do we get people to be able to get active in the community, get active in activism, and use the word fight. And I want to be very meaningful how we use that word, because it's very weaponized, because there's space for everybody in the movement, but how you choose to show up has to be radical, meaning that when placing opposition on Black bodies, on Black experiences, on Black places, on Black communities, that every day when we go to actions, when we go to protests, there is no red, green, yellow. Black places, Black communities, Black bodies are red always. They are targeted always. They are dismissed. They are neglected always. So knowing that and being in being with community with other people, it definitely, when we say people are co-conspirators, allies, and people that are white passing are white people, they need to know what it looks like to show up when we talk about when Black bodies are under attack, rise up, fight back, stand up, fight back. It's very important that we start to, even as a community, because like I'm taking race out of it, or as a community, have to be very aware, when are we willing to cross the threshold when we say fight for Black bodies? And when I get at that is that we're very grateful for the young lady who recorded George Floyd. You know what I'm saying? But George Floyd's murder ushered in the largest civil rights demonstration in world recorded history. There was a Black Lives Matter protest on all 27 countries in all 50 states, and he still didn't get justice. So like, in that, knowing that he died, no justice, he got the recording, but no one fought back. So this is where I'm getting at with that fight back part, that we pay very special attention, and when we use it in explaining to our community, what does that look like? How does that show up? Like, you know what I'm saying? When is it appropriate? What does fighting back look like? Because fighting back is not just being in the streets, like we said earlier, about yelling and screaming at buildings and the police. This system, it gets control all deleted every single day. They auto control for this. So they are accounting for all the things that we are doing. They are accounting for all the programs that they have enlisted to keep us oppressed. So what are we, knowing this, how are we moving and building alternatives to capitalism so that people can come in to the movement? Like, you know what I'm saying? That we're moving in radical love and solidarity. And so people are being ushered in because there's space for them. But if we don't create space, if we don't validate people, if we don't center people and build community and build people power, things that like happened to me that are going to continue to happen to Black bodies, the solutions aren't going to come of it. But that's why we have moments like this and conversations like this to really hone in on it. But
can I just say, Kevin, man, I'm really sorry that you had to go through this shit, but really take advantage of this time to use it, you know what I'm saying, to use it to flip people, to get into people's minds and to say, this isn't just some shit that I'm talking about that I seen on the internet. It has happened to me, you know, myself, and I have proof of this, you know. So this you can take this far, and I hope you get some money out of this shit. You better get some money out this shit, boy. You on mute?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I said if Nene has her way, I will.
Yeah, man. You got. I'm looking at
that was a learning experience for Kevin. You know,
Right,
as I
was
mentioned
also
to my little nephews and nieces in the movement, I told him his ass shouldn't have been there. And when he saw who was there, he should have left because Kevin put himself in a situation that made him unsafe.
But Auntie, you know what we say. You live and you learn. If you don't learn,
it's a lesson learned. He know now, but we gonna get it. We gonna get their asses because they already know. They wouldn't have done that to Kevin if I was there. Yeah. Kevin was out there with our clear people, and they just was comfortable. And he was the only one. Him and another one of our major comrades would
take them out.
She knew to be up front. Kevin in the back by himself, still talking shit with clear people.
He was like, oh. There you go.
You know, so it's a learning curve. But we gonna get them. They already know what it is. They know what it is.
You use whatever tools.
Kevin got to pay for attorney. Not even doing public defender. We coming after them.
Yes, and use these tools against them. Use these tools against them. Use these tools to build your empire. Use these tools to build whatever you need to get ready for whatever revolution that. You know what I'm saying? You see that you can lead because there's many revolutions.
Even with the allies, because you need the allies. Harriet Tubman had allies, and I tell them that. Yeah. And I held the allies accountable for not keeping Kevin safe.
Yes.
Right? So that's real.
Yes.
Like Kevin just said.
See, some of them, they want to, we see that line of defense now. During the Black Lives Matter rally, when they was holding their hands and everybody's protecting the black bodies and whatnot. But what would have happened if they would have really got rowdy? Everybody would have just been getting their ass beat, especially the black people.
They stood up. They protected Kevin. If you all watched the video, but because they was white, they didn't arrest them. They wanted Kevin. Kevin literally was the target.
I always tell the white people, y'all the ones who need to go take it the farthest. Y'all need to take it the farthest. When it comes to shit like this, you out here protesting, trying to protest about liberation. You protesting about black people and their rights or whatever the fuck it is. If you're protesting a fucking fascist government, you have to be on point with this shit. You can't go out there with you know what I'm saying? Not expecting to throw in the gloves, not expecting to go in the middle of the street, not expecting to get your ass beat.
No, they literally came
talking about liberation for black people. What? This fucking nigger lover clap.
They literally came where they were taking Kevin to lock him up, and he had to spend a night. Because I said, "Oh, y'all not letting Kevin go on a citation?" They said, "No." I said, "Y'all might as well come with me because white motherfuckers going to jail now. You all gonna lock Kevin up, so you might as well just follow me because I'm making these white people he was out here will go to jail." And I meant that from the bottom of my heart. And I told them, "Y'all asses going down there, and y'all going into the cage with Kevin." But then I just, you have to strategize and think.
Yeah,
I couldn't get Kevin free that day, so wasn't no need. I need them for tomorrow, so. I didn't let them get locked up because I needed them to get Kevin the next day, But no, that's real what you're saying. They got to step up, and I had to educate them with that. Like, don't you ever let a black person go into a cage by themselves, and especially if they out there with you. I said, I don't care if you have to hit the cop. Like, you do what you need to do to take your ass to jail with them. Facts. And I meant that from the bottom of my heart.
Facts. When you're talking about experiences and like learning, everything is a moment of everything's an experience and a learning moment. Like the conditions, yes, knowing it and like reading it, like, you know what I'm saying? We know the statistics. Like I know cognitively right now that probably even more, but from my last update, 8 people have died in DC jail. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we like knowing the stuff, but seeing the manner in which people are living, like, and like when I walked in there, it looked and felt like slavery. It's like. So
that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. Look at the video as Kevin talks. I'm going to play it without sound as Kevin talks. And you tell me this doesn't look like the takedown of a slave. You tell me that. Why is this cop walking in front? You think he's just walking? Or he's walking in front of the camera so you can't see this the slave being kneeled on.
That's the cop that target Kevin. We have a campaign against him and wanted posters all over DC for him. So he literally told them to get Kevin.
Facts. Get him.
Go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead, finish what you were saying. Sorry to interrupt you. I just needed to see. Look at that. I'm trying to get people to see.
Yeah.
He is literally walking to cover up what he know is happening. There's no reason for him to walk right there.
I'm just want to try.
And we're paying for this.
I just want to say
for this.
If the white allies, if all of them would have pushed him off, everybody would have had a chance to push off, punch off, whatever y'all had to do. Get the police off of this man, and everybody run, split different ways, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't have went this far if people really had their back. It's not about getting more people arrested. It's not about getting more people in trouble. But God damn it, we got to protect our people. Because
the arrest.
They
the arrest.
So what? Y'all could have saw another George Floyd, man. It's either that or another George Floyd. What do you want?
And that's what I'm talking about. So yes, there's de-arresting, and I could have been de-arrested, but also understanding that, like, even if I was with all Black people, I could have been arrested. Like, going outside, and they don't want us to use our voice. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't want us to go outside. So when we do it, we are innately putting ourselves in jeopardy, let alone being Black. But in that it's extremely important that we understand that without a doubt, that if we don't take the time to put, I'm like, no bullshit. If we don't take the time to put a price on freedom, there is a problem. I don't want to hear people talk about that lives matter and things are important. Like just like the police are out protecting buildings and things of these nature. Put a price on it. If women's ovaries matter, you know what I'm saying? Like if Black liberation matters, if immigration matters, if imperialism, if all these things matter so much to us, what are we willing to risk for? What is the cost for freedom? There are a lot of good, no bullshit, a lot of good people, places, and things are going to get going to get lost in the midst of a revolution. And we have to be willing to accept that. But that's personal, because being a revolutionary and being willing to fight back is a personal walk and a personal journey. And people like us have to be willing to usher people in and join them in helping them educate, meeting people where they are, allowing people to validating people how they show up, so that we are building actively towards making movement. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the number states that it takes 3.5%, anything that we've ever seen in world history, it takes 3.5% for the needle to move. That's the civil rights movement. That's the American Revolution. It took 3.5% of the population to get involved. Right now in the United States, that's 11 million people. But what we're talking about is so much deeper, because it doesn't matter if police brutality if there's no police brutality in the United States. It does not matter if there's no police brutality or in the United States if Black people in the rest of the world are still treated like trash. So like this concept of liberation, this concept of fighting for liberation and how you choose to show up and we make room for people to do the work is extremely important. We need to be willing to think about what does the sacrifice look like?
I'm only going to sacrifice like 2/3. That's all I got for you, Kevin. Like you want me to fight? You want me to get my
different for white people? We're saying earlier, like we have sacrifice, like the sacrifice that we have to give and white people have to give are different, because we are not the beneficiaries of our own oppression. Everything that we do is innately connected to survival. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like surviving, we have to survive to get to liberation. Like, for real.
Right. Because if we are being oppressed, that means we have to survive that first.
Yes.
We have to survive that first just to be able to be liberated. Go ahead, Kevin.
Other people don't have that. Other people have the luxury of waking up with freedom of thought, freedom to move, freedom to speak, freedom to act how you want to without restriction. That's what it means to be free. So when you're in your space, white person or white passing person or other person of color, because, you know, all skin folk and kinfolk, there's a lot of opportunists out there. When you're in your place and you have your privilege and you want to call out white supremacy or capitalism when you see it, that's acknowledging that you have the luxury of do that, because you don't get to reap the consequences, because we can't hold Black people accountable. We can't fault Black people for not always being vocal about the things that are affecting them, because Black people have everything to risk and nothing to gain from it, unless you're willing to see the sacrifice in doing it. You may not get the promotion, you may not reap the benefits of capitalism, you may not get the job or get the cover letter or get the reference to go to the next job because you decide to call your boss out on his sexism or his homophobia or his racism. You may not get it, but a white person may just, because they have the comfort of, oh, you may still get the reference though. It's about how we show up. It's about how people use their privilege and how they show up. And I think, and that's led, no bullshit, that is led by Black women and Black femme presenting people. They are going to lead us, and that's on the ancestors, and that's even on indigenous people. Those people are going to lead us to freedom, because there's no one is going to gain liberation until the Black trans woman gains freedom, justice, equity. Because justice doesn't start from the top, it starts at the very bottom, and they're the most marginalized people in the world. So it really comes back to really thinking about, when are you choosing to be Martha P. Johnson and throw the brick? Because it's that necessary to throw the brick. Not because you just want to throw the brick to throw the brick. Timing matters. When are we deeming it necessary? So when we can't be outside fighting for Black lives and fighting for liberation, talking about my arrest, and fighting for decolonizing Black people, and talking about the brutalization about Black people, and be outside with fucking drums and shit, when we witness Black people get brutalized in real time. So I'm not talking about the stuff you heard about that's happening through the time of your lifespan, because this is the stuff we're talking about is historic time and current. I'm talking about it happening right in front of your eyes. What do you do? And that's what we need to start getting prepared for. What do we do?
Right. And what do your enemies have? What do your enemies have that we don't have? They have solidarity. They have weapons. They have weaponry. They have, a lot of people backing them.
So. Facts. But we have each other, and I think that's enough. Yes. That's what this. We have this level of community that allows us. It's very easy for us to see the Iran movement and just write it off. It's very easy for us to see the farmers that are happening in Pakistan and write it off. It's very easy for us to see the climate space and write it off. If we don't see the intersectionality that lies between movement spaces and start and granted, you take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying all skin folk and kinfolk, and I'm not saying that you don't have to be willing to educate yourself on people, places, and things, but we have to be willing to start expanding our community. Like, you know what I'm saying? If all I can care about, and this is no bullshit, if all I can care about, I live in Arlington, Virginia, if all I can care about are the Black bodies that get slain in Arlington, Virginia, or in DC, and not take the time to realize that there are Black bodies in Mississippi who are being slain, and I don't take the time to reach out with the people on the grounds doing the work and build this community, like, it doesn't take, if we in community, and Donnell Rochester got murdered by Baltimore Police Department, if we're in community and that it's an hour and 30 minutes away, we have to be willing to show up. If we're outside and we're on 14th and P in downtown DC, we have to be willing to show up, and we have to act. But the question that we ask is, why aren't people willing to show up? And it always goes back to that people power. It always goes back to community. People want to be accepted. We don't have to work. Tons of people are doing this, like, you know, even the weird psycho white supremacists, but they're doing the same thing the Girl Scouts are doing, and sports teams, like, you know what I'm saying, they're doing the exact same thing. How do we get our community to be sold in to what the fuck is happening to them, and what the fuck they're able to do? Because a lot of people think sometimes they're not able. We have to meet people halfway. But that, yes, they may have money. Yes, they may have resources. Yes, they may be able to get trucks and shut 95 down from Boston all the way to Florida with their big ass 16-wheelers. But we are so capable of doing that and more. And we don't have to wait for the neoliberals or the Democrats to care, because they don't give a rat's anyway. We don't have to wait for blue or red or none of that crap.
Man, we work at the gas stations that fill their Mack trucks. They can't go nowhere without us filling their trucks. They can't go anywhere. They can't get their merchandise without us shipping it to them. Or, you know what I'm saying? They're standing in them lines. They're not going to stand in a long ass line for them to get their merchandise at Walmart, Target, or blah, blah, blah. you know what I'm saying? It is what it is, nigga. We can do it either way, or we can just have it our way. Or all of us can have it our way. Even if you don't want to live around, I understand, because culture is very important in liberation and revolution, right? Because some blacks don't want to live around some whites don't want to live around some blacks. I guarantee that some Native Americans don't want to live around a lot of us, right? And we're going to have to give people space, time, and their culture. And this is why this shit is so important right now, because we can't just think of liberation as it's just one whole thing. Like no, people want and need different things. Even right now, even if we was just to tweak it, and if we had the power to give the people democratic socialism, the people of Detroit don't need what the people of Compton need.
Well, people. The reason to speak to the point that you were saying earlier, how do we get people, and specifically, I'm going to speak to black
propaganda.
People. It's no. I don't know what's up this celebrity culture, but you ask a black person, explain how you are free without you using your money. Oh, I'm free to do this. You have to spend money to do that. You're not free. Everything that you are allowed to do is because of the money you have. So this freedom that they like to project on like famous celebrities. Oh, you can be Morgan Freeman. Oh, you can be, you know what I'm saying? Like these figures help to sell the black community that freedom has arrived. These sort of like, go ahead, Kevin, if you want to speak to that.
But that's because it goes back to the capitalism and the imperialism. You know what I'm saying? Because that in itself is like the desire to have money and capitalism. Like, do I not think my mother, who works like 50 hours a week, cares about what's happening to black people in her community? Going back to that dollar you were talking about earlier. I know for a fact that she cares 100%. But just like the cotton field, they work us from sunrise to sunset. The poverty and everything else that goes in between it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Everything else that gets played, you know what I'm saying, as they pull the strings. Let's be realistic. We're talking about our people. Who has cognitively the time, the emotional appeal and exhaust, the ethos to do it? You know what I'm saying? Like that, and I'm definitely talking about
people that can run for office.
Definitely when we're talking about oppressed people, like their work. We have to the way we get people to get away from the American dollar is through mutual aid, by building alternatives to capitalism. If I don't got to rely on my job to give me this dollar to get this dollar so I can pay this rent, so I can live in this house, if I don't have to do that, if there's another way, if there's alternative to how I feed my family, how I clothe my family, how I provide water to my family, then that's how you get the people. Because the people are always going to be sold into the American dollar. If the American dollar is the only thing that psychologically, even though it's conditional freedom, that they feel as though that they can rely on.
Because it is what gives you freedom. I get what you're saying. Even if they know they're buying their freedom, they understand it. This is what gives me my freedom. So in order for me to have it, I get what you're saying. Like I have to do that, but that is the design of the system. That the system is designed so because capitalists know that people are gonna get tired of this shit, but it's designed where even if you're upset, you can't even get out the system. It's designed that way so that you work 60 hours, you can't be politically active, you can't be politically or as politically aware. Let me describe it that way. You can't be involved, you can't go to protests, you got to feed your family. If you get what I'm saying? Like you got 3 jobs, 4 jobs, you got families that are having to merge. That in California, you had 2 different families living in one home because they can't afford it. So you got a 4-bedroom home, but you got 2 brothers and their 2 wives living together and their kids. Go ahead, Kevin. Speak on.
I'm saying that 75% of U.S. people that reside in the United States the United States of America don't know how the 3 branches of federal government work. 75% of people in this country don't know how the 3 branches of government work. That's intentional. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that they accounting for ignorance, like, you know what I'm saying, accounting for not knowing is a part of the design.
That's
So
Reaganomics. That's
like,
Reaganomics.
so it's but I'm really big on going back to the how and the why. If we know this is the issue, how do we do it then? How do we counterproduct it? Like, you know what I'm saying? What are we going to do? How are we holding ourselves accountable? Like through participatory defense, court watch. What are we doing? What are the tactics that we're going to use to get our people to be unable to be bound by the US dollar? Which I'm not talking about, which I'm not, and I say this with grace because I know what I'm talking about is hard to do. Like, and that's why freedom dreaming and having imagination and being an abolitionist is so important in thinking about this work and thinking about freedom and thinking about what you want your life to look like. It's because just as easy as they made up the cops, we have every right to think about reimagining what public safety looks like, reimagining what teachers look like, reimagining what healthcare looks like. We have every right to do that, and we have every right to fight for it. Definitely for the people that take our money and beat our asses with it, they don't care anyway. So it's like I don't know how to put it. It's that it's connected in that way. And if we show up in that way, I can't do nothing but like have ancestral faith, child. Like, because, you know, and when I say ancestral faith, I'm talking about cotton field. Like, that was faith. Having ancestral faith.
Yeah, you had to believe that there was something better than this. You had to have that faith. Go ahead.
But believing in it is not enough. If we don't you can't just believe. Manifestation doesn't just work because you thought about it. You can't just freedom dream a new future. You have to actually fight against the oppressor to dismantle it by also building something else in return. To sum all this up is that where I'm really standing in this fight for Black liberation and fighting for it intersectionally is that people are needed, bodies are needed, and as we protect each other, as we keep us safe, how are we going to utilize our people, all of our people, in the sake of liberation? Like, because it's so important, because like the intersectionality is so important for the sake of liberation, so that Black people free. Because everyone's life is going to get better when Black people are free. Everyone's life is going to get better. Look at people's lives right now. A lot of motherfuckers live very conditional, comfortable lives. You get to go marry who the fuck you want to because of Black people. You get to go vote, even though 48 out of 50 states got voting rights suppression because of Black people. There's housing protection because of There's all this stuff that Black people, that other people get to go, other racist people go get the benefit of, because Black people were reformatively centered in the 1960s. Because none of that shit had any good intentions for us. Like, you know what I'm saying? White women reaped more benefit than we did. So in that, and knowing that, if you won when Black people were just reformatively centered, like, remember, you couldn't even marry the same race in this country. Knowing that Black people are reformatively centered, imagine what happens when Black people are actually centered. Like, it's gonna be really. It's something to think about.
It's definitely beyond the sphere of understanding for capitalism. But I do want to bring Chuck in here as a reporter on the ground, because one of the first things Nini referred to and Kevin chimed in on is that she don't normally work here on Sundays, but they came out for you. Why do you think that is? What are you doing in this struggle? What is your role that you see when you come to these events, these things that are happening surrounding police and policing and police brutality?
Well, I'm going to answer, but I want to say back to Nini. What I text her back was, I normally don't work on Sundays because you got the football and the Major League Baseball playoffs, and I'm a sports nut. So just so you know, that's where I get my piece away from the justice movement. But in any case, and I want to answer the media question, but I'd be remiss if I didn't point something out on the video that we watched. And that video is that the officer who was shielding was formerly Lieutenant Bagshaw and is Commander Bagshaw, and is the most infamous, notorious cop in all of DC, hated by all protesters. And not only that, he killed Lazarus David Wilson back in July, something that we have been protesting, led by the people on this call since July, and that continues. And they put Bagshaw back on the street. What we have to understand is Bagshaw used to be a lieutenant, and by being the most hated and being the most aggressive and brutal and most complained about, it earned him a promotion in the DC police from lieutenant to commander. And now he's back on the street, which I would call taunting. So I have to put that out because there's a live case going on. But having to your question, I think media is extremely important, particularly in DC. DC is a Washington Post. Washington Post runs everything in DC. So for a lot of people, if you didn't see it in the Washington Post, it did not happen. And one of the most amazing things is that the George Floyd uprising was incredible in DC. It was 8 months vibrant and strong from May 25th to January 6th, still going to this day in much smaller amount. And most of that did not hit mainstream media. Most of it, maybe the first week or so, maybe the first couple of weeks, if there was enough violence. The mutual aid, people sleeping in tents, people in protest, people helping each other. None of that made the news. The continued protests didn't really make the news. So independent media was needed, not just myself, but many others in independent media was needed just to show that it exists. And we have to do that. And we have to continue to do that. But it speaks to a much larger problem in our corporate media that if it's against corporate interest, if it's against making profit, if it's against the state, and I use the state as military and the police state, it is not in their interest to cover it. So we have to build our own infrastructure locally. And the last thing I want to say, because Kevin was doing this a little bit and I've seen others, is that it's incumbent, I think, the way forward when organizations assign a person to do media work. So Kevin in 2020 was doing the why. He was interviewing a lot of activists, doing what many of the work you were doing. A lot of the organizations were doing that. And if we could get outside media, great, but we have to couple it with a really strong activist independent media strategy together.
The movement gotta be financed by us. The movement has to be documented by us. Like that's the facts.
By the worker, because we see when they get a chance what kind of tall tales they tell. If you read American history, that's a bunch of tall tales. But let's bring in Nini as we're gonna close the segment. Let's not close it, but coming to a close. Let's bring Nini back in because it feels like you're I don't know if the right word. Are you an OG of the movement out there? It feels like you're an OG. It feels like so I want you to speak from the OG hat. Like, do you feel all the years, all the time that you're putting in, do you feel like either more people are waking up, or do you, or if you feel like maybe you're getting this also, and do you feel like it's making progress? Do you feel like the waking up of people is the progress that is needed in this fight against in this abolition fight?
What I would say is, as I expressed to all my little nieces and nephews in the movement, you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. And with that being said, we have made progress from where we've been. And just got to realize that, like, just running to the streets and protesting is not going to get us free. We see that strategy is not working. And this is why we heard as Writers' Dreams, where we do political education and we're in the communities educating our people about, and we literally have every Monday abolitionist training just to tell people what an abolitionist is, what it is. And because people don't know and people really believe they need the police, we've been trained by that in our head. And so because of that, we're already like us, we're talking to the choir. And that's why I allowed you all to talk, because reality, we can say that, but we preach to the choir. We literally have to go and let them know why, like, we were just protesting for Lazarus Wilson. And I had to tell the man who wanted us not to park our cars on his parking lot because it was private. I said, they literally pulling us against each other. I said, they don't want us to get to the police station. And the mother came from Philly because the police that worked there killed her son. Can you give me 1 hour on your parking lot? So that they blocked the street so we can't park there. And he was like putting against us. And because he felt like I said, I could keep you safer than them. And he believed that this white cop that was standing over top of him, dividing us, could keep him safer than me. And it's got to be unlearned behavior. And with that being said, I know that it's a time to resist in the streets, but you have to go out there and we got to get in the communities and we got to do political education. We got to change the laws. I wasn't one about voting and stuff, but we got to go. We got to get our people to vote. We got to get into prisons and let them know if you're not charged and if you're not a felon and you can vote. And that's what we're doing now. Expand the vote. We're letting the formerly incarcerated people know that, hey, your vote matter because they think they can't vote. And so we got to educate our people. And as we educate our people, we'll grow the movement. And if we set one person free, then they can help us continue to empower the next person. We can empower the next person. We can empower the next person. So if I get one person on my train to freedom, I'm winning.
Facts. And
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I want to shout out Heritage Wildest Dreams for that because it's been since their foundation, it's been part of the mission to like bringing in new and but not just I would even just say I hate that word activists. People bringing in people and like everyday niggas, people that care and having the class like child there's one tomorrow at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. If you want to go, it's on Tuesday. Like it's weekly. Like and you can come in and there's an internship program during the summertime, and it's the second time this summer. So it's just that I know like I know
we pay black people. We pay back people to learn because that's how we had to get them in with fellowships. So we literally pay $25 an hour so our people can be educated.
Yeah, we RBN has got to. I mean, this is what this summit is for. We're here showcasing activists really around the world because we actually had international. We had a woman, an activist, anti-war activist from South Africa that was on. But RBN wants to be on the block with our comrades here. We want to be here in this space, but me being more methodical, we kind of being nerds here, we want to understand what the steps are before we start to step out. But that didn't work because we've already started to step out, but we still want to learn because we couldn't wait. So we already started to do that, but it's always good to keep learning, but we feel like we need to learn a lot. And really the idea of this came from us trying to learn from other activists, and then it just evolved into other things. This is kind of Rome's idea to it's like we need to learn how to do this work before we're able to really do this work effectively. The Ashuru Socialist has invited us out to go out there to get some training for some community work. We would love to be in contact with both of you just to make sure we're understanding if we could, support you there and just learn so that we can bring the fight in all of our cities. We're in Detroit, we're in Los Angeles, we're in Orlando, Boston, and KC, and we just want to bring this energy to those places. So yeah, this is great. Go ahead, bro.
To the OGs, I want to give a shout out to Chuck because I've been watching you for many years, man. I want to.
We met at the health.
We met a couple of times, back in my DSA days. That was, back when I was trying to infiltrate and building platform and whatnot, and like we was talking about earlier, how we knew that Bernie was going to lose, but saying we all knew like, okay, we got to build off of this because we're not going to win with this strategy of changing some type of corporation. And once I actually knew the ins and outs and I actually got to talk and sit down with a couple of politicians and they actually talked to me about, because they didn't like how I was so routed, and whatnot. So they sat me down. I was like, look, it don't work like that. You got these people, that people. I'm like, oh, so y'all are sellouts. Okay, well, let me scrape the barrel real quick of a couple. I know it's a couple of revolutionaries out this motherfucker. I know I can scrape a couple of you know what I'm saying, people who want to go further left. And that's what I did. I jumped off the boat. We stole a couple of life jackets, stole a couple of you know what I'm saying, lifeboats, and we got the fuck up out of there. And we still here today. We built our movement. We found land. And we built our movement. I want to give a shout out to our OGs, my auntie Nini, Chuck Marty. Man, y'all been out here, and this was all that matters. Like, you know, because a lot of our OGs, with their age, with their wealth, they start to lose focus. They start to forget where they came from. They stop caring about, you know what I'm saying, who they were before, and the people that they say that they are looking out for. But keep doing your thing. And even if we don't agree on all strategies, that's not the focus. You know what I'm saying? Because the focus is liberation. And like I said earlier,
right, it is necessary.
you know, we all need different types of people with different types of mindsets, from political mindsets, who wants to run, who wants to vote, who wants to do whatever. Some people have to keep pushing for those third parties, but we have to show the parties and the corporations, the parties, more likely corporations, that we will keep them in check, that you won't go after these parties that's building up power, that's building up their foundation in certain areas or cities and whatnot. But we all need solidarity, and we will not get anywhere without it. We're going to be stuck here, and I'm going to be preaching the same propaganda that I am to you 10 years later.
I just want to tell you, Ryan, for a shout out to DSA. We actually had a DSA working group. They couldn't show up for us under DSA, but they called it the DSA working group to be on our defund the police coalition.
They had
So,
to
you
had
know,
to build that
everybody got
separate
a
lane.
lane.
Yeah, they have to build that separate
Everybody
lane.
got a lane. The
Hey,
doors of
if
the
they're
movement is
willing to,
open.
yeah, if they're willing to do that, then that DSA is all right with me. But I think, Kevin,
Yeah,
if you
they
want to
did. They
jump in
went.
and say something.
They stepped out, and they told me when anytime I say DSA, say DSA working group to distinguish it from them, that it wouldn't carry it. But no, shout out to them taking a step. You know, step outside of
I
it.
hear you.
But the doors of the
I hear
movement are
you.
open, and if the movement don't have what y'all want, create it. Like
Yep,
look,
that's what I did. I was like, look, the Detroit,
create it.
the DSA in Detroit, they weren't doing shit. They weren't going into the black communities that I wanted, even if I begged them, whatever. I said, you know what? Fuck it. I created a fucking party. I created an organization to where now I'm going across country feeding people, you know what I'm saying, educating people and whatnot. If you don't like it, build it your fucking self. And now I'm doing it in my own image. And it is hard. I will not say that all you got to do is pull yourself up. No, nigga, it is hard. You got to convince a lot of people. It's a lot of fucking brainwashing. It's a lot of propaganda that goes into this shit to get people on your side. You know what I'm saying? Even your family. Those are going to be some of the last people that's going to support you, because they want to see you actually get it done before you bring it home. Your report card, your progress report. What can you show, right, to prove that your strategy worked? And when I start being really bold about socialism, about communism, now my mother is out here wearing black and red, feeding the communities, being at damn near every event that I throw in Michigan. You know, like it goes a long way. It's a lot to do, but it has to be done, because who else is going to do it? Who else is going to do it? Right? Even if you don't have the funds, make up a reason to need the funds. You know what I'm saying? Like, beg for the funds if you have to. I have done this multiple times. If you follow me on Twitter, I'll be like, all right, nigga, it's game time. Let's go. You know, feed these people. Let's get these people some water. You know what I'm saying? We're getting these people some whatever it is. Do it. Don't worry about embarrassment. Don't worry about people calling you a grifter. Don't worry about, all you need to worry about is the people that you promised to help. And if you don't deliver that promise, then you are what these other motherfuckers is calling you.
I think JB came in to read the super chats. So I want to give everybody the opportunity to kind of, if you have a closing thought, or if you just want to, shout out where we can reach you, if there's a way that people can donate to your organization or anything like that. We'll start with Nini, then Kevin, and then Chuck.
Yeah, for us, we are Harriet's Dreams on Twitter and Instagram. And also if you just do mobilize.us/HWD, you can find out everything we're doing. It's virtual. We come to our trainings, like how we got info sessions, we got abolitionist training, political education. Like Kevin just said, court watch training. We outside, we inside and outside. So when I say I'm outside, we also inside because we inside the legislation buildings and changing laws and trying to decrim poverty, get harm reduction centers, and we get we outside. So her streams on Twitter and Instagram and mobilize.us/HWD to find out what Hers Rider Streams is doing.
Only Black people can say something opposite, and you know exactly what they talking about, because she said I'm on the outside, which means I'm on the inside too, and I just was like, what? But
Thanks.
I knew exactly what she meant when she said that.
Like, okay.
So that was funny. Kevin, any your last words, shout outs, or anything you have coming up? Is he frozen? Is Kevin frozen a little bit?
Yeah, Kevin's frozen. Chuck, you got Chuck going frozen. Chuck up.
Okay.
There goes.
Yeah. So I just want to say, I always like to end and say protests matter. And this is why I cover them. They matter. They mattered in 2020. I'm not just talking about Derek Chauvin going to jail. I'm talking about schools all across the country were getting defunded. They were taking police off campuses. We saw some defunding in certain areas. And if it's gone, pendulum has swung the other way, it's because it hasn't been long enough and it hasn't been strong enough.
Kevin,
do you hear me?
You can reach me on
he probably breaking up.
Y'all hear me?
Instagram, which is
he probably breaking up bad. Just let him.
Is everyone? No, I think
I took him out because his something's wrong with his sound. But go ahead,
Chuck. You all can reach them on Palm Collective on Instagram and Twitter. Is Palm Collective.
Absolutely. Now, if you're able to fix it, Kevin, we can put you back in once the sound is good. But Chuck, go ahead if you want to finish.
Yeah, I was saying protests matter, but the thing I wanted to lift most immediately is that people know there was this George Floyd uprising in D.C., but that uprising gave voice to a couple of individuals who were killed by police in D.C., notably Deon Kay and Karan Hilton. And the Karan Hilton protests were the largest that we've seen in D.C. and sustained in, 10 years. And something very rare happened. Terrence Sutton, the man who murdered Karan Hilton, is going to trial like this month. He's going to trial. And I have to say,
there now.
He's there right now.
The jury got chose. Court start Monday.
So Monday. That does not happen without the people in D.C. applying that pressure. And we have to be clear about that. That happened because unlike so many people, we had a mass mobilization to say, no, you're not going to get away with this. So even locally, not just George Floyd uprising, but locally, where there was pressure, we're seeing something happen. Now, we don't know who's going to be convicted, but I think we still have to take the wins when we push the needle forward when that happens. So that's happening, and that man needs to go to prison.
If not prison, because I don't believe in prisons.
Yeah.
One less cop out there.
Yeah. Well, here's how.
I can't be a hypocrite. I'm abolishing jails, prisons. So,
Nene, you're a moral abolitionist. Nene's a really super moral abolitionist. I'm an abolitionist.
We ain't got nothing for him. I'm not going to be mad if he go to jail, but I'm not going to say go to jail. If he go to jail, motherfucker, you in jail.
Okay.
But, it gives me the opportunity to make him not be a cop anymore.
No, I hear you. I want to tell you the difference between me and Nene because she's more moral and pure than I am. I'm an abolitionist, but I'm not starting with Terrence Sutton, all right? We're going to start with the people, and then we'll worry about Terrence Sutton. Till then, put that ass in jail.
First, then I'll think about it.
All right, Kevin. I'm glad you're back. I think we can hear you fine now. So, any sort of last words, Kevin?
Us then who? If not now, when? If not when, why? Why not? If you know that Black people are murdered, why? If we're not going to do anything about it. And the most revolutionary thing you can do are decisions and actions you make for yourself. You can follow me on social media, all my social media, which is Kevin Kramer _ the brand, or just Kevin Kramer, and also the Palm Collective DC. That's also www.thepalmcollective.org. But yeah, and with knowing Chuck and knowing Nene, like it's kind of like peanut butter and jelly. Like we're always around each other. So like, yeah.
Absolutely. So I hope you don't
I
mind.
just
Maybe in a couple of weeks, we might reach out just to have you on again for like a regular show that we have, not a summit, a regular one of our interviews to kind of do more deep dive in some of these topics. I know Nick wanted to speak to both of you, but he wasn't able to make it. So just wanted to give you that heads up. Whoever's sharing, go ahead.
Yeah, this is me. I just wanted to give you guys another shameless plug real quick, but we're gonna I want to give you guys a treat. Please, please, please don't leak this. This is some shit that you damn near got to pay for. I know Kevin would kill me. I thought there was him texting me. I know he's probably watching this, but he's probably going to kill me if I was to leak this. But he's going to kill you guys if he was to leak this even more. But this is something that I had shot I'm shooting a documentary and whatnot. This is basically from our first type of clips and whatnot. This is the original. This is the real opening. I know you guys have seen a lot of versions of the intro, but this is the original intro. So if just listen up. What the fuck is wrong with you guys? Take yourself back. Do you know how many fucking guns we got just on this block alone? We outgunned the police departments. Sitting here watching our people die off. It's murder. And even our gangbangers. Because we have to keep in touch with our killers. They keep in touch with their killers. Their killers get badges. Their killers get ranks in their militaries and armies. Our killers get prison. So it's time to build our military and make sure our killers know how to actually aim their guns and know who the real target is, because it's easy to take me out. Like I always tell you guys, the only vote that we should be doing, especially Black and brown communities, is who gets the guillotine next. You're never going to be afloat. Why would they put you afloat? If you are afloat, then you can't work for me. If you are afloat, you can't fill my prisons. If you are educated, how can I get you to fight my wars? What the fuck? So when I say death to America, I really mean death to America. But that's the intro for right now. We're gonna it's gonna be some it's gonna be a lot, but it's gonna be a long ass. That's a long ass movie, man. It's a documentary, really. So this is just the first part, and then then they're gonna come back out and shoot. We are building a library. I'm building FDA from the left as of right now. You might know that, CJ, and building a couple more things. So we got a lot of more shit to shoot and whatnot. But it's gonna be fire. So y'all look out for that movie, man. I think y'all gonna like it for sure. I'm not all routed. We touched with a lot of people, talked to a lot of people, fed a lot of people, clothed, but it's just to pull you motherfuckers saying. But it's gonna be fun.
I was just curious. You all said Nick. Is that Nick with Mass Lib in Detroit? Because that's my dude.
No, Nick Cruz, a member here. I just put in the chat. I just saw.
Okay, yeah. No, y'all know Mass Liberation out there in Detroit.
It's so many fighters out here. Detroit is big.
Mass Liberation keeping people out of jails and prisons.
Yes.
So yeah. And actually, y'all, we had to think about police brutality, but I want to be very clear as to educate the people. The police only can arrest us and beat us up, right? Not that that's okay, but it's literally the prosecutor and the judges that actually take our people and enslave
Yes.
them. So be clear on that. The police only can do like arrest us and throw a charge out there, but it's the prosecutors and the judges that's caging our people. So
They
fuck
go out
13
and
is what you fuck
catch the
12. When you
people.
say fuck 12, fuck 13 too, them judges and those prosecutors.
That's right.
14, 15.
All right, okay. Chuck is back. So you know, I just want to put all of you on the screen so we can say bye to you guys and thank you for joining us. This discussion has to be revisited and in a little more detail. I'm sure we'll do that in the near future. Solidarity with you and all of our struggle together. So